Hi everyone. This is AG. This is IJ. I forgot to bring up my notes.
We had a good batch of episodes this week.
Like,
We got a lot to talk about, actually.
Ironically, one of the episodes I have so much to talk about that we're only doing 4 this week, which
will set us back to the digits of 5. And side note, we have changed one person's stance on One Piece over the course of this podcast, so I consider that a victory, even if we never get a big following with this.
So
our brother is watching One Piece, and he's with the Marines right now. So he's still in Syrup Village.
Yeah.
But he really likes it, so I'm super happy that at least we were able to do that, even if we do nothing else.
So we're now in Alabasta, and
yeah.
I think something that we didn't really bring up that well was the fact that you kind of have to realize that when it comes to One Piece as a whole, everything we had seen up till now were people that were either too weak or too cowardly to actually go into the Grand Line.
Now things are different.
Yeah. All of the
there
people
will still be cowards, but they'll be dangerous cowards on top of
every
it.
single person that we face are people that are going to be on par with Luffy in strength.
Or at least annoying enough to be on par with Zoro or Sanji.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. This grouping of episodes will start a trend that we're going to see even up to the point that the manga is at right now, where people look at Luffy, they look at his bounty, and the Marines overshoot what his bounty should be and give Luffy enough time to match his bounty. And the normal everyday fodder that Luffy fights sees Luffy and thinks, there's no way that guy is worth that amount of money. Zoro must be the captain.
I would like to say, though, that I have now added a Luffy gets underestimated counter to my notes.
Two
so far, yeah.
Arlong, and now this group, because Smoker didn't underestimate.
Arlong, Smoker, because he's like,
I
was like, he seems innocent. I'm going to just let him go. When in reality, he was
facing down the future king of the pirates.
Yeah.
And should have arrested and executed him on the spot but that wouldn't have been actual justice. And Smoker is someone with a sense of fair play, which is why we like him, is because he's actually a good person underneath all those cigars he's got everywhere.
So I forget, let's go into episode 62.
Okay.
Was Laboon did they overshoot it and go into the West Sea?
What do you mean?
Like, for some reason, I thought that they overshot it and they were on the West Sea, which is why they left Laboon there.
No, they were from the West Blue. Yeah, they're from the West Blue. They went up Reverse Mountain and brought Laboon, and Laboon
because it's going down it. Because it's going down the water, and Laboon is right there, right?
And Laboon followed him.
So Laboon is this...
He's not even in a place he's supposed to be at. He's an invasive species on top of everything else. He just hasn't left enough to cause enough trouble to the ecosystem.
So this massive whale with a lot of scars on it
Emphasis on massive whale. This is one of the biggest creatures we'll see for a while.
Is sitting at the bottom of the slope of water after they come up off of the Reverse Mountain.
Because this whale is almost as big as one of the sea... is as big as some of the sea kings
It's basically a sea king at this point, in which the whale just starts making a lot of noise, and...
it breaks the maidenhead off of the ship.
Yeah.
Damage that wasn't caused by Luffy this time.
So would this be called a decapitation or dethroning of Luffy?
Dethroning of Luffy.
Yeah. Decapitation of the ship or dethroning of Luffy?
The decapitation of the ship is about to happen at Luffy's own hands, though. The dethroning came from the giant whale.
So Luffy gets mad.
Reenact an entire book of the Bible.
So Luffy gets mad and punches it straight in the eyeball.
He's like, "You broke my seat! How dare you!"
And so the whale eats them.
Yeah, he swallows them, and Luffy has enough foresight to get out of the way and get on top of the whale.
And Luffy is just
he's about to drown
furiously,
in
slamming
it's like,
his
give
foot
me back
onto
my
it.
friends! We're supposed to travel the seas together! And I'm like,
And then he looks
No.
over, and there's a trap door sitting where the blowhole should be. And Luffy just goes, "What?" so the rest of them are basically just looking around. They're like, "Wait, why is the sea really calm right now?"
Why is there clouds?
And they find Kame House just randomly sitting inside of this whale. The entire inside of the stomach is painted to look like clouds and sea, and there's even like little
painted
seagulls
seagulls.
with like a little signature on it.
You have to hand it to him. You know, he A for effort in trying to make the most
They
of
actually
a
say
bad
his
situation.
name like in the little signature, but I didn't have time to actually read it.
Crocus.
What was it? Crocus?
The man's name is Crocus.
Like Crocus.
And I know that because of how often he's referenced in the series. This is not some riffraff character that we've met,
Mhm.
as he gives us a hint at the end of the next episode, which we
Um,
will talk about later. But as
so-
of right now, my favorite scene in the manga
So
shows up.
this
I
giant
love
squid
this
shows
scene.
up, and Crocus basically just shoots it with a bunch of harpoons and just
Dinner!
reels it in
He
for
gets dinner.
And they're like, "Oh crap! I just realized that this is stomach acid that we're just floating on top of."
Because the man has coated his island Kame House paradise with
Like a lifeline
iron, the steel
shielding.
steel lining underneath.
Yeah, so it's like,
Because
oh,
lead's
we should
too
probably
soft,
get out
it's
of
too
here.
lead is too malleable. It would have been digested in the stomach
Um,
and poisoned the whale to boot.
I forgot to mention that that he looks like a plant.
Yeah, Crocus. His name is Crocus. He's Flower Man.
Yeah.
Also, my favorite scene in the manga was actually just as funny in the anime, and I was so happy. It's like they're staring down Crocus, right? And it's like
A bunch of
And
like
Crocus
random
is
shots
like-
to everything, and then he like states one thing, and after
No,
like the
it's
second
like-
time, no,
it-
after the second time, Zoro actively gets upset at this joke and like, "Stop doing it!" And then they do it 3 more times, and I'm like, "Is this stalling for time, or pushing a joke a little bit too far?"
both is good. But so the line is that Crocus goes, "Forget it. It's not worth it. Someone's going to die here." And Sanji goes, "Oh, really? Who's gonna die here then?" And Crocus goes, "Me." He's like, "Wait a second!"
I kind of like that. And then Jesse and James show up.
Without their Meowth.
He shows up a little bit later.
Yeah, he shows up a little later.
Haru, that's right.
Oh, trust me, we'll get to see at least Jesse
So-
and Meowth a lot. I don't know about James though, but
So Luffy is just roaming around the inside of the whale, in which it's like,
and he crashes the party literally again.
so the inside of the whale is all bolted with metal, almost like he's a living submarine. And it comes up later, but Crocus is
Luffy
a
and the Whale
doctor.
Ducks, TM.
Yeah. Crocus is a doctor. He's not putting in all these metal parts
He's
just
really
to
a
spite the whale.
veterinarian at this
He's
point.
making pathways through the whale, trying to give it like medical attention to the spots where it needs, because it's a really old creature that is harming itself, giving it all the scars, which
As
we'll
we
bring up in a
learn,
bit.
it's about 50 years old, if not
Yeah.
older.
Um,
Probably like 55 years.
so we get introduced to Miss Wednesday and Mr. 5 and Mr. 9.
Oh, Mr.
because-
Five didn't show up until the end of this break of episodes.
in which they keep referring to themselves by this name, almost like they need to remember which one it is by addressing it to them. I don't think it's to tell the
3,
audience
2,
who it is.
1, baby.
Yeah. We're gonna burst in on a 3, 2, 1, baby. And-
I love the English in Alabasta. There's nothing quite like it.
So Laboon, which is the name of the whale, starts slamming its head into the red line. And Crocus basically goes to a spot of the ship and basically just
Gives it its shots.
giant needle, and he's like, there isn't that much left of this I think. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be like an antidepressant or if it's supposed to be like pain medication,
I
but
think it's both.
whatever it is, it
Both is
calms
good.
down him. So Crocus basically explains that Laboon is an island whale from the
He's the largest species of whale, actually, he says.
yeah. Which makes you kind of wonder a little bit about the West Blue, because this is literally it. We don't really know that much about the West Blue besides
Well, we learned
this,
some
and
other
it
things about
has
the West Blue.
a very American-style military system.
Mhm.
Like, that's all we really know, because people refer to it as
The West.
the Wild West Blue.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like,
A lot
That's
of
great.
actually really interesting characters come from the West Blue. One of which we get to see
yeah, but he's
As I
not
look
showing
up
up
to
till
the
a lot
roster.
later.
Yeah. 10 years.
Episode 63. So we see,
Laboon flashbacks.
yeah, we see a Laboon flashback.
Oda
which-
makes you feel bad for a whale.
Yeah,
This isn't the last
so
animal
these
to make you feel
pirates
bad
with a,
about either.
these pirates with a bowl for their symbol, which
Remember this symbol, it will
Mhm.
come important later.
show up in the Grand Line, talk to a lot younger and more buff
He's swole.
Crocus.
It's a swole Crocus.
And he goes, yeah, we're gonna leave this baby whale here because it's way too dangerous for him.
Because
We're gonna
as
be
they
back
said,
in
the
about
Grand Line was uncharted at the time. And
Yeah.
they should only be gone for like 2 to 3 years.
because at this time, I think
no one knew how long the Grand Line
Goldie
was.
Roger either hasn't been named
He was
the
still
king,
in the East Blue.
or he was just about to set out on his
Oh,
journey
no.
as well.
He wasn't even close to sad.
Like-
Not in journey. As we learn, the
Well,
time
it was
when
20
these guys...
years before.
Okay, so as we learn in the future, like I'm not naming names on who we get this information from. Roger was a rookie. Back when these guys were sailing through the Grand Line.
Yeah, I think I
After
remember
they left Laboon.
I think I remember that they
Because-
mentioned that like he only like started pirating like about 20 years ago.
And they were hearing
Took him
whispers
several-
of him.
It took him
through the-
just about the same amount of time that Luffy is taking to become king of the pirates. Like it was very fast.
Because he was destined for it.
but you got to
Roger
remember
was
that.
destined to be king of the seas.
Well, you got to remember that pirates, on
Don't live long.
average, only lasted about 4 years because they either got
If
really
they were
cocky and they were
lucky.
caught by the privateers that were basically contracted by the governments of the prospective
Bounty
country that they were that they had insulted, or
Got
they
into
just
fights with ships or died of scurvy.
died of scurvy,
Or
got into
died
fights
of
of ships,
stupid.
or they got stuck in a really bad part of the sea and just died because their boat fell apart
Yeah.
from either
Which would happen in the Mediterranean Sea. If you got hit in a wrong patch of in a wrong swell patch, you were done for. There was
Yeah.
no saving you.
Well,
you were
it's
dead
why-
and marooned.
It's why the Greeks always referred to Poseidon as a fickle god. Like, if he wanted you to never get where you were going, he would make it so.
Also, side note, back during the era of the Proto-Greeks, Poseidon was actually the king of the gods because he was connected to the underworld.
Man, once again, Zeus shows up and ruins everything.
Doesn't he always? But anyway, it's
He
back to-
always takes the glory.
They drew
Um,
lots, which is even worse. But so
But they basically say, hey, don't worry, Laboon. We'll be back in 2 to 3 years.
50 years afterwards, Laboon is throwing himself against the red line, trying to get back to the West Blue.
Yeah, it's really
'Cause he-
sad when you really think about it. You're like, ooh, 2 to 3 years. Yeah, they did not make it.
And Crocus and Sanji really give two examples of what happened to him.
Either they died or they just forgot about him.
No, or they panicked and left. Like, what's his name?
And they didn't want to come back for
No, what's his name?
what?
Don Krieg. They
Oh.
panicked like Don Krieg and left into the soonest sea that they could, and were never able to get back to Laboon.
Before you mention it, no. I zoomed in on the fiddle players that were in the crew. Did not see him.
Okay.
They were not
I
wearing
know.
the
I
same
looked
outfit.
because he's got brown hair, and that's not.
No,
Yeah,
he's got like lightish tan hair and he's got like a brown jacket. I'm like, that's not him.
Yeah.
Either that or they colored it wrong.
They colored it wrong.
Maybe
That's
they colored it
supposed to be him.
Yeah.
Which, if you know the character we're talking about, you know who we're talking about. But he's one of the fiddle players there because he's one of the only guys who had to buy violin on that crew. Everybody else had like an accordion, piano, some drums.
They really do seem like, even from like the little bit that we see, a lot
They're
like
musicians.
Shanks. They're very party-centric people, and a lot of them seem to know instruments. But here's the thing. After hearing the story, people were like, "Oh, that's really sad." And then Luffy runs up on Laboon
With a mast.
and sticks the mast of the ship into it. And
Into
then,
his blowhole, by the
and
way.
then it takes a little bit for them to go, "Luffy, what'd you do?"
Yeah.
So Gum Gum Flower arrangement, which I don't think we ever see ever again, because I don't think.
Usopp would kill him. Frankie would kill him if he ever
Yeah.
did that on the Sunny. Like,
Yeah.
if he ever even got near the mast on the Sunny, Frankie would be like, "Come here, rubber boy!"
I'm gonna read my notes verbatim. So Luffy
I like your
basically
notes
gets
on
into a
Gum Gum
fight
Flower Rain.
with Laboon,
He
and
picks a
Laboon
fight with
starts
a whale.
slamming him against the
Lighthouse.
lighthouse that's there. And Luffy goes, "Okay, I'm gonna call the draw. When we get back from searching the Grand Line and come back all the way around here, I will challenge you to a rematch. Deal?" And the whale stops and realizes what he just did, and he starts crying a little bit. And I'm like, that was actually pretty smooth. Why do people think Luffy is dumb again? Oh yeah, he ripped the mast off the ship. Why did he do that?
It's like Usopp, Sanji, and Zoro are just staring at him in the mast. It's like, he's got a mast, and Usopp's like, well, if he's got a mast, why did he rip the mast off our ship? There's a lot of really good visual gags in this episode with Usopp, I find.
To basically cut back to something that we kind of looked over.
And then
So
Luffy graffitis
Wednesday and
his
number
flag
Wednesday
onto-
and 9, they
Go blasting off again.
they wanted
the water.
to poach the whale because they wanted to
For the
well,
meat, they
for the,
say.
for the meat. But there isn't that much on the whale anymore, technically, because
wouldn't
most
have
of it's
gotten a
just been
lot.
turned into metal.
It wouldn't have been enough for their needs, though.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know
And-
about them at the end of this block of episodes, or
Um,
even halfway through this block of episodes,
And so
and then guess who shows up?
so they're
Guess what
basically
episode this is?
they're basically sitting in the water, and what they refer to as the Unluckies show up. I did not plan this, but on episode 13, Miss Friday and Mr. 13 show up, and I did not plan that, and that is amazing.
Mr. 13 is a vulture.
No, it's
Is
It's
Mr.
the other way
13
around.
the otter?
Miss Friday is a vulture, and Mr. 13 is an otter.
And they have a massive clam that they hit, and bombs come out of it, presumably to hit on people who are trying to run away from
Yeah.
their crew, as
Um,
we find out.
so Sanji comes up with the entire cooked tuna, elephant tuna. He just
Wait
cooked.
for it.
He just cooked the entire thing.
Wait for it.
And Nami is basically freaking out because the compass isn't working, and she's trying to figure out what's going on. And Crocus basically refers to every island as having a unique magnetic signal, and all you basically have to do is go to an island, and it will
Log it for
and
however
it
long
will-
it takes.
And these log poses, which are basically just bubbles of magnetic energy or something. You go to one of these 7 islands that are like almost in a line on
And
the Grand
you
Line,
Pick one. You
and
pick
you pick
a direction.
one, and it
you
decides your
go.
entire course. Choosing an island is basically choosing your class in an RPG.
And
You go on completely separate journeys because you do something different.
Luffy will hit the one directly in the center, taking him to some of the most interesting islands on the map.
Yeah.
Got Alabasta, to name one of the islands that they're gonna go to. They
Yeah.
picked a lucky stream of islands for just their needs.
I do want to say though that when it comes down to it, like they state that you're going to be going on this path, but you'll all end up at the exact same island, the last island known as the legendary Raftel.
Raftel. Which
Yeah.
we find out why it's named Raftel, besides just being, excuse me, a really cool name.
Isn't it like moving as well? Like it's really
They
hard to
haven't
actually find
explained
it.
that yet.
I know, but it gets explained later that the reason why people can't find it is sometimes you'll just miss it and like
It's
you'll
like
miss
the
it by like
violet
5
flower.
minutes.
It's like the violet flower or the taste of durian. But in reverse. Like you don't know what it is until you found it. It's the island of
So it then
lost.
cuts from this explanation to show that Luffy has eaten the whole tuna.
Yeah. There you go.
But I do
Sanji
want to
gets
say,
pissed.
I would really like to taste that nose. Like, can you imagine
It's
just like
probably rubbery.
just like a rubbery, thick like column of literally just fatty tuna?
It's got the consistency of fatty tuna.
It's got the consistency of fatty tuna,
And
but it's like in
calamar
a
at the
column
same
like this,
thing.
and it's like,
I've never had fatty tuna.
I was like, I don't know, that
My
would
dad
actually be
has, I
kind of
haven't.
interesting.
Yeah.
CB
And-
has also had some fatty tuna. It says it's okay.
I've heard it's really good.
So basically, when talking about like, oh, we need a log pose, Luffy goes, oh, you mean like this one? Yeah.
After he breaks the first one.
No. Luffy goes, yeah, here's a log pose. And then Nami gets upset because how did you get this? And they're like, I think it may have dropped from those two. As they basically just come out of the water going, oh, please, we need to do this. Oh,
We
wait,
need
no.
to go to Whiskey Peak.
Right.
Okay.
Sanji gets upset because he ate the whole thing, and Sanji punches Luffy so hard he flies past Nami, and the log post explodes. As they're all just like, "What have you done?" As the two come up like, I was like, "Oh no, you broke our log post. How are we gonna make it back to our town?" As Crocus is like, "Don't worry, I'll give you mine." Okay.
Problem solved.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know like how much foreshadowing this is. We're gonna bring it up later. But Mr. Nine refers to himself as a king, and Miss Wednesday refers to herself as a princess.
We'll see.
Like,
We'll see.
I,
It's brought up at the end of this batch of episodes.
Yeah.
Who at least one of them actually is.
So basically,
My vote is on the redhead being actually Princess Peach.
so we're gonna just add another tower till Luffy gets underestimated because Miss Wednesday basically pulls Mr. Nine aside and basically goes, you know, these guys look like chumps. We could probably take them back to our island and we could deal with them there. And it's like, yeah, most likely. So they say goodbye to Laboon after painting like this massive like
After
skull
Luffy
and skull and bones
pastes his
on it.
Jolly Roger all over Laboon's scratches that he's been doing to throw himself against the red line, as if you do not touch this. This is mine now, Laboon. You are mine. You're part of my crew. I'm just leaving you here because you're too big to fit on the ship. You know that if Laboon could have fit, Luffy would have brought him with.
Was this episode a platinum contender for you?
No.
It was to me, but I didn't want to give it to it so soon because I'm like, I don't know
It's
if I want it to be a
platinum in
platinum
context.
because of how much foreshadowing is in this episode.
It's platinum in context, not in
Yeah.
the moment. Which
Which is
I
why
don't
I
offer
probably
platinums
will
to...
not give it to a platinum. I'm trying to be objectively and say like maybe I'm liking these episodes too much because I know what comes up in the future.
With at least the first episode, I will say yes. With the others, objectively speaking, they are good episodes.
Well, I
All
think
of
it's
the other ones are
mostly
good
because
episodes. This one's a high silver.
foreshadowing like may not even be there, and maybe I'm just looking a little bit too hard into the episode.
No, it's there. It's all over the place.
Okay.
These two episodes come up 10 years in comic run down the line. We figure out who Laboon is. We figure out who his crew is. Who Laboon belongs to, and it's actually still Luffy. He still belongs to Luffy. Just he belongs to Luffy in a different sense now. He's more like his grandson rather than one of his mascots.
So episode 64 starts with Luffy and Usopp on the deck of the ship having a snowball fight. As Nami is basically like, when did it get so cold? And then just randomly like that, it starts
The
like
Tempest. 'Cause they're
it starts like
sailing
a
towards
tempest
different
going on.
island. Because here's the thing that they tell you about, I think, in the manga, but not really right now, is that each of the islands have their own season. They just went past a winter island and they're sailing towards an autumn island.
Yeah.
They're sailing towards a fall island. They're going the wrong way.
Yeah, and so they're basically and so Nami is basically told by Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine, who is basically just getting a is getting like a ride to their home island, in which okay, I'm gonna read verbatim what I say. Telling a navigator she can't trust the sea is like telling a librarian you can't organize by the book titles, and that's how the Dewey Decimal System was formed.
High five. Oh, that's super true. Because actually it's by subject and then by the author's last name.
Yeah.
And then it's by title.
Yeah.
Actually, no, it's by sequence of volume order, and then it's by title.
Yeah,
Titles
it's a really odd system, but it's
that they
usually
never
to
teach anymore.
put a bunch of books that are of the same subject next to each other instead
Subject
of
and context and theory.
subject, context, theory, name. But the idea is that, like, they're telling Nami, if you're such a good navigator, this is your this is gonna be the hardest test you'll ever have, because you have to be rapidly prepared for a random squall to just show up and ruin your day. And I can really,
you can tell that these two live in the Grand Line. As we go farther into the journey, we meet characters that have lived in these conditions their whole life. When we get to the other side of the Grand Line,
the red line where it's like goes back
where
around.
we pass, because they show like the map goes, hits the red line, extends beyond the Grand Line, and hits Raftel. When we get to that second half, we're gonna meet characters that could beat up Crocodile, and they're 5 years old. Like Crocodile as...
Who's that?
Oh yeah, who is that? We meet characters who, like, their smallest kids could beat up Zoro as he is right now. And I would say that objectively, right now, Zoro is physically the strongest.
Speaking of Zoro, he wakes up from his nap after everyone is tired from just, like, going through all of the oceans. And he basically looks at Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine and basically straight up pegs it that it's like, you're using aliases, aren't you? Like, and he only knows, like, one organization that does that sort of thing. Like,
he probably knows two, actually, but by process of elimination.
Because another group of their organization is a male and a female tied together with the guy having a number and the woman having a and the woman having a day of the week. And so it's like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I want to know, like, what this organization is. So they reach. What was the name of this island again? It was
Whiskey Peak.
Whiskey Peak, right?
The island that they told them to sail.
Oh wait, I wrote it right there.
Prepared for, like, to get bushwhacked by monsters, because they don't know what's going to come at them from the Grand Line. They've never been in a situation where the winds and the tempests can change on a dime. Like, you flip up a dime, and when the dime comes back down, it'll be like springtime. And it was just summer.
Also, a funny little note when looking at the One Piece wiki, whiskey is a maritime signal that you would, like, put in with, like, flags and stuff that means I need medical assistance.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you...
Because whiskey was used as a painkiller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
bring
makes
whiskey.
sense to
it was
me.
like, what do you need? Whiskey. And it was like, okay, they need help. So the fog on the island basically clears, and you see that this is an island with massive cactuses and people that are just really happy that pirates are showing up, which is always a bad omen when people are excited for you to show up. And they are introduced.
I love your note on the next note down when they say that, well, we can't drink too much, we have to be going. And Nami immediately asked, as soon as they had touched on, how long will it take for the log post to set? And the mayor of Whiskey Peak,
Igarapari
Igarapari
is the correct way to pronounce it. I believe in the English version they just refer to him by his other name, which is Ingram.
Igarapol.
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 Yeah, but they just refer to him as Ingram, which is...
But that's much later. We don't hear that until much later.
No. The actual English dub refers to him as that because they couldn't pronounce his name in the 4Kids version.
Yeah, you can. If we can pronounce it, they can pronounce it.
It also... the Unluckies are looking over everything, so it just confirms that this is a bad omen.
Yep.
Nami is astounded that they have non-alcoholic wine, and then proceeds to drink literally everything.
I like
winning
your note
a drinking
on
contest
the
against a nun.
Also a bad sign.
Who is somehow bigger than Zoro.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay.
And how...
But basically they're just having fun and everyone's basically
They're having a break, they're having a breather. As Luffy eats them out of house and home because they allow him to.
He eats 13 full-course meals and he makes the chefs pass out.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's pretty good.
This is what Sanji has to deal with every day, 3 to 5 times a day. Sanji's
he eats 5 meals a day.
Yeah, Luffy does.
Luffy eats 5 meals a day.
Yeah. And
they're double helpings.
Champ.
And they're double helpings.
Because he'll eat everything else on the table if you don't watch him.
So Nami wins the prize, and then basically passes out. And everyone sort of passes out as, Iga Rapari basically goes, yes, do that. I was like, we need you asleep. And then cuts back to Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine. Basically,
I'm just saying their names rather than
sending
Miss Wednesday the whole time.
Sending a message in a specialized mail carrier with a logo for Baroque Works.
It's Baroque is the only name on there right now.
I know, but it's
Baroque Works.
It's the symbol of Baroque Works, in which now that the crew is fully passed out, Ingram and the nun basically walk out and introduce themselves as Mr. 8 and Miss Monday. So...
No, Mr. 9.
No?
Oh yeah, Mr. 8, you're right. I jumped the gun. Mr. 9 is someone else.
So they basically discuss, like, what are the bounty of these people? And they're like, well...
We had the jackpot.
And they're like...
And he holds up Luffy's bounty posters.
Luffy has a big bounty, so they're like...
And they freak out, because they're like, 30 million berry.
That's not usually the, like, type of bounty that you see.
Dropped on their lap, and they're shocked.
It was the highest bounty person in the East Blue, and he just came into the Grand Line, and they're like, oh, this guy's really easy to take out. We can do this.
We just fed him, and he rolled over.
I'm gonna add 4 to the list. I haven't actually put it on there, but it's most likely there. And then Zoro basically is standing on top of the building going, man, you guys are really interesting. And they're like, what? And...
Oh yeah, also, a side note that we learn, if you bring in someone dead, the bounty drops by half.
I thought it was like a third.
It's like a half, a third, it depends on how much you bring back.
Yeah. But I think the idea is that...
They want them alive?
They want them alive so they can do a public execution. Because that brings in crowds and moral support. So if a person is just dead, like, they can't, like, parade him around as, like, hey, we've captured a momentous bad guy.
Mm-hmm. And, as we find out, it's a trap! Both ways, actually.
So, Zoro...
They ambush their ambush, as it turns out.
So, Zoro basically goes, well, there's 100 people on this island of men, women, and children, and every single one of them is a bounty hunter. Like, even the small kids are bounty hunters.
Yeah, he's up on the roof. Like, because this is the Grand Line. We can't be underestimating anybody on the Grand Line right now.
So, Zoro knows the name Baroque Works. Why? Because he was scouted to be in their group.
We forgot this.
When you really think about it,
walked out,
every single member.
That's right, he was scouted by Baroque
Every
Works.
single member of Baroque Works has a very odd quirk to them, where it's just like, okay,
They wanted
whatever.
the demon from the East Blue, because he was referred to as a demon when you saw him.
So he's basically just like talking like you're not gonna get me, and Mr. 8 basically looks up at him and goes, "We're gonna add you to the graves." As it zooms in on the cactus, and the spines of the
They're
cactus
not spines. They're
are
grave crosses.
gravestones, and it's actually a rock formation. I had to give this episode gold, mostly because...
Yeah, that earned it gold. Like, that shot where it just pans behind Igarappari, and you close in on the cactus and one of the bowls, and it just shows these lines of crosses. And I was like...
And that's how the episode ends, and you're like, that's pretty cool. So, what do you think about ending 3? Because we now just got the third ending.
I liked it. I'm going to have to get used to it.
It has a very tropical feel that makes, the ship feel like a home.
Yeah.
Like, I said this about the second one, but them just relaxing and having fun. Like, on the episode. They show this on the episode in which they have this hard struggle, like, fighting back the ocean and trying to get where they're going. It really does feel like that the ship is a home away from the dangers of these
It's not
Grand
just
Line.
a home
So it's
away
like,
from home. It is the home, and the islands that they go to are the homes away from home.
Yeah.
As long as it's together, they're a family, and we'll see that family really grow as Luffy, or rather, Nami and Zoro adopt more children.
So, episode 65, the last one we'll be talking about today, it starts with Zoro literally vanishing before their eyes. And I was like, what?
Cue the Jazzagun!
I forget who did it, but they did the math on how fast you have to go to actually lose eye contact, and you have to be moving near the speed of sound. Which, when you see him dodging bullets the way he does not surprise me.
No. He's moving so fast, he might as well be dodging bullets. And it's a good thing he can dodge these bullets.
And
best of all, this is the firstling fight of Zoro's new babies. Son 1 and Son 2.
Speaking of bullets, Mr. 8's saxophone that he's been carrying around the whole time is a shotgun. So
Which
like,
I love.
so
I love that
he blows
gun.
into it, and when he makes different noises, it makes different types and clusters of bullets, and it's like, whoa, what?
So he can change it on the fly, because he can also play He can also play a mean saxophone.
I'm gonna just go over their powers really fast. Miss Wednesday, her whole thing is hypnotism, because she's got a design on her shirt that when she moves and dances, it's supposed to hypnotize people.
Because she's doing a belly dance.
Yeah, and then she throws
perfume
pheromones in
attack.
people's faces to like
Because
make
it
them
actually
get off of it.
stuns Zoro.
And then she uses basically a pinky ring with what she refers to as a peacock's feather
It's a
that she spins.
It's a wire with a blade at the end.
Yeah, it's a blade at the end of a garrote that she basically uses to basically slice people's necks.
Which has an actual name for it. I just don't know what the name of it is.
She refers to it as a peacock's feather.
Might as well be, because
her entire thing is like, I'm going to distract you and I'm going to do this. But then you see what she actually uses to get around, because she's actually just like a regular girl that's like, okay, how do I maintain in battle? I just have a thing. She's also a duck rider. And no, you did not hear that.
She's a chocobo! It's a chocobo!
Yeah, so she has this massive duck that she just rides around
with
named Karu.
With a saddle.
And
it's got
Karu
paintings on
basically
it.
is this dopey
He's
creature.
a loyal steed. That guy's a trooper.
And
the kind of stuff
he's just like
about to go
running
through.
around trying his best.
Falling through the space in between buildings because they forgot that they were on the building tops. I love that. It's like, get him, Karu, let's go! Dick, dick, dick. Boom! It just falls through the alley. And Zoro's like, how embarrassing. And then he almost gets clocked in the head by Mr. 8's gun. And I, like, jumped. It's like, Mr. 8!
Where'd you come from? Mr. 9 dual wields what appear to be steel bats. And at first you're like, why does he do that? And then the swords can't cut through them. And I'm like, huh. And I'm like,
they're both defense and offense at the same time.
Yeah,
which
and
is
so
very clever for
he was, out
sacrificing
of all the characters, probably the person that was giving Zoro the hardest time, which
Just
is why he
because-
keeps getting launched off of buildings.
He fell off the building the first time.
He fell off
himself.
of 2 buildings, got launched off of another one, and it made it so that he couldn't fight Zoro properly. Which, if this was like a one-on-one fight, most likely Zoro would have had to run for his money and had to use all 3 swords. But he didn't. He just kept... He tried out
Evading him.
Black Sword and Red Sword as a dual-wielding stance, trying to figure them out.
Because he wants to know how they cut.
The Black Sword as a very light
Yubashiri.
blade.
His-
Yubashiri. That basically is so light it feels like he's dancing with it.
Well,
and it's like...
Yeah.
I believe they referred to in the manga as it even cuts the air.
Yeah. It's a dancer.
Yeah.
It's the dancer of his thing.
Meanwhile, the red sword he pulls
He's
out to
just
defend himself,
bloodthirsty.
and it not only cuts through the guy's weapon, it basically cuts into the guy, just straight up killing him. And he goes, "No, stop it!"
Bad sword! Bad boy! I'm trying to win a fight here. Because the sword is so bloodthirsty, it will cut through anything it's put against.
Oh, I forgot to bring up someone. So Miss Monday, after she removes
Yeah.
her nun's outfit, is this
Swole bodybuilder
is a
of woman
bodybuilding woman of color, and it's like,
with
Ah.
my voice. She's got my voice.
and I'm
And
like,
I'm not.
a woman
any
with
of those
that
things.
size would have far too much testosterone in her body to have that light of a voice.
Like, even if it was naturally
Like-
acquired muscles,
Yeah.
she would have more testosterone than Dad.
Mm.
That's just saying something.
Yeah. But then again, it's like she's able to like pick up large columns and basically just whack Zoro with it. And
She's given him a time though.
Yeah.
Like he had some sparse difficulty against her at the beginning.
her
until
problem
he
is
figured
that
out-
she doesn't have that good mobility. So if he just gets away from her, he's good. But Ingram comes out of Mr. 8 comes out of nowhere, and he even has guns in his hair. Like his weird curly hair, he just like pulls on his lapels and it just starts shooting out of his hair
because they're probably a tag team duo. Like she holds them down and he just opens fire and kills them all.
and she can take the bullets because of her strength. But it more seems like that Mr. 8's gimmick, as it is
They
that
all
he
have gimmicks. Mr.
is
2
that
has
he
the biggest
uses
gimmick of them
hidden
all.
hidden guns. Like they all have a gimmick to them, and the 3-sword demon, Zoro would have fit perfectly in their group.
Oh yeah, he easily could have risen to the boss's right-hand man, if not defeated him outright. But here's the thing, as we learn, the reason why Zoro turned them down is because Zoro doesn't do mystery. He doesn't do smoke and mirrors. He doesn't do the aliases or the secret identities. He wants to be out front and become the best swordsman in the world, and he can't do that in Baroque Works' shadow.
Later on in the series, we see that he has to like don a disguise.
And they have to
And-
force him and glue it on to his face.
He does not like being in the shadows.
And then they put him
he
in a cow
is
costume.
a loyal samurai. He will be out in the open and he will state his.
He'll wear
his
the
intentions.
samurai garb.
I think he's such a simple character because that's what
That's
he
what he
likes to
wants.
be.
He just wants to have a good fight. He wants to have a good time like Luffy, which is really something that the entire crew really has going for them, is they just want to have a good time. And everybody else is just stopping them from doing it.
like
So they have to beat up everybody who gets in their way, because their captain isn't having a good time.
I really didn't talk about the fighting that much because it's literally the entire episode.
Oh yeah,
But
like what we
Zoro has pretty good moments of
Like,
fighting.
because
Most likely what I'm gonna just have happen is coolest scene basically right here where it's like, oh gosh, I really can't describe it that much, but
Yeah. Also, really, I loved this. I loved the Whiskey Island mini arc in the manga because I've read through them. I love Whiskey Peak. It's really good, but the it's shown in the anime is so much better because it allows Zoro and the other characters to just move, to be mobile, and to have their fights breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And they come to life when they're given motion, which is really something I think that the manga does well in portraying motion, but the anime with actual motion and with small instrumental background pieces that sometimes are so light you can't even hear them because you're focused on the fight.
Like when Zoro calls out to them, or in the previous episode, like his theme starts playing, and obviously it's going to, but it starts in the weirdest part of it where it's like really soft and almost like an approaching like sound to it. Whereas like when it pans up to him, it like starts like being bombastic, where it's like, yeah.
It cues up with Zoro's theme, and then
Okay, so basically what
of the
happens
episode.
is he is encountered by all four of them at once this time,
they jump him
and
pretty much.
Miss Wednesday now has Luffy, who is still incapacitated and still fat from all the food
He's hibernating is what he's actually
and
doing.
she's like,
He's like a snake. He sleeps off all the food he swallows.
yeah.
But he's not chewing it. He doesn't need
And
to chew it.
they're like, we'll kill the main character if you don't comply. Oh, that's cute, series. You think you're actually gonna do that?
No one believes that.
What does he do here? It's like, it's a really good moment, and I didn't word it correctly, but he gets he gets out of that situation, but we then get a moment in which Mr. Five and Miss Valentine show up, and it's about around this time that you go, okay, top five, they stop being days of the week and they now become holidays.
Except for one of them.
No.
Yeah.
Huh?
Sunday isn't a holiday. It's a day of the week. It's the first day of the week.
We're gonna have to talk about that next week
Why?
when they actively like start becoming a character. But
We had this debate. I'm still firm. It's day of the week. But the other ones are all holidays.
what was the name of the girl that how do I describe it? Mr. Five is Blade, and Miss
Ino.
Valentine looks
Ino.
like Ino from Naruto.
Yeah, because I saw the girl from Naruto.
Probably-
Oh, Ino! That...
Yeah.
Oh, Ino.
So they're not there to capture Zoro because
They're not
they
there
showed
for
up there.
Luffy.
They're there because someone let slip a grave secret of a group of secretive people. They go around with aliases for a reason because no one wants to state their actual name.
Because they're all hiding something, and in a world of secrecy and lies, secrecy is currency, and it doesn't come cheap.
So they're there to capture Vivi Nefertari, the Princess of Alabasta, which Miss Wednesday has been pretending to just be a regular mercenary, and so
Oh no,
Mr.
she's
Eight,
royalty.
stating that he is the captain of the Royal Guard, will defend her with his life.
And then their other cohorts, Miss Monday and Mr. Nine, jump into their aid, which I thought was really cool. It's like, you guys, they don't have to do this.
Yeah, but
they're super cool about this.
But we're going to probably have to stop right there because
Yeah.
there is something I do want to talk about. So Nami is walking around, and
Yeah,
she
because
is
she
trying
wasn't
to.
unconscious, because
and-
she can pack away the booze.
No, she was drinking non-alcoholic wine.
But they distinctly say that they were slipping alcohol into the wine.
Yeah, but
And that made Sanji and Usopp and Luffy go down because they were lacing their drinks with drugs. And Nami was not drinking all of her drink. You can physically see it slipping down her mouth during the drinking contest. Like, slipping down the sides.
But there is a really good scene where she realizes they really don't have money here. It's not a very enterprising way to...
capture pirates.
Well, they get a large crew of pirates. They satisfy their needs for the night. They slit all the throats of the non-important people, tie up the important people, and then basically just ship them off to the military. That is their goal. Like, that is their entire goal on the island. Most likely, having to cater to large, like very large groups, probably like about like 30
or
30 to
specialty
50
groups
people.
like the Straw Hats will leave them out of house and home because Luffy can eat his weight in elephants.
Yeah. But the interesting part is that you do kind of get a sense of this venture was going to just destroy itself eventually. So
And this is the crew that is the straw that broke the camel's back.
So we will be talking about this more next week because because the full impact of who Vivi is next
will
week.
come.
But what we
in
will
next
say
week.
is not about her, but about Zoro. This is an episode solely dedicated to showing off what Zoro can do on his own. Like
He's a pretty tall order.
We've had battles where Sanji helps out. We've had battles where Zoro helps out. We've had battles where even Usopp helps out.
Even Nami has got.
Nami has helped out in like one, maybe
the
two
buggy
fights.
fight.
Yeah, but
She ran distraction.
there
But
was
this
always
is,
a moment in which a character is on their own and they show off exactly what
like
they can
Usopp. Usopp got his moment to shine for the first time.
do. During Arlong Park.
But this is also the first fight where Zoro was completely rested for a fight. He was able to come in guns blazing without a handicap for the first time.
And he's going in not even brandishing all three swords. But he is mainly doing this as a test run of his new blades. Like, and so he's
and
like
trying to get
like,
control
I can do some things
Sandai
with this really light sword that I couldn't do with my other ones. Oh, this one I should only use for really devastating attacks or hitting hitting non-living objects to avoid it like cutting through things. Like obviously they're gonna do stuff in the series where it's like these swords will not be very important, but you are getting a sense of these blades are mixing up what he knows. And he's been able to...
He has to breathe with them. He has to give them room to stretch. Otherwise, he'll never improve. With his I think Zoro wouldn't have been nearly as good in this fight if he'd had the swords he fought against Mihawk with. Like, these two, like Yubashiri and Sandai Katetsu, he needed these two blades.
Also,
for the Grand Line. They were Grand Line.
An important thing to know. None of these people that they're fighting have devil fruits.
Yeah.
And it did kind of feel like that right at the end of the East Blue. Randomly, we get two new devil fruit abilities that kind of like, I was like, oh, and then we have someone with really cool powers, and then we're like,
the whisper fruit.
And no, not even that, where it's like, these guys under the Grand Line are from this really secretive organization, and it's not even until like
next episode that we start to see devil fruits in the group.
Yeah, in which
showing that you don't need devil fruits to make it big in Baroque works.
But it does kind of feel like that they give devil fruits to their higher level associates,
or they hire people with really good devil fruits and stick them where
I
they
don't
need
think
them.
Zoro would have taken a devil fruit though.
No.
He is so powerful that he doesn't need it. But
also, there's no
it does
woman...
kind of mean that he would probably, like, I don't know, be in rank 6. He's good enough to be, like, even number 1. Like, he's able to be the best one.
Well.
But 1, he doesn't take orders. 2, he
needs
doesn't
a
like
female
secrecy.
counterpart.
3, he needs a female counterpart that can help, support, or bring him back to a neutral state.
And the only woman who could possibly do that is Tashigi.
But not even
Tashigi
talking
would have
about
never
that.
done it.
Most likely because every single person that is above 5 all have double foods. And they progressively get more and more broken as they go up.
Oh yeah. Like the big boss guy has one of the devil fruits you don't want against Luffy's devil fruit. Like, it was a bad matchup for Luffy.
It is kind of spoilerish to know that this major arc is called the Alabasta arc. So you're like, Alabasta.
Princess Alabasta. I wonder if we're going to Alabasta proper in this arc.
Yeah. So it's only
it's
really a spoiler because we know that, but besides the part with Laboon with his touching moment, getting a clearer taste of like this is how the Grand Line works on deception and trickery.
Drives people mad.
Like even the ocean does not want you to be here. Like this is
It's trying to throw you out into the calm belt if it can.
This is a really good demonstration of the type of things that they have to do in the Grand Line. And so I kind of feel like that these are gold episodes. However, I don't know how much of these episodes are me just getting excited for what's coming up. And I already know the foreshadowing, or if I'm looking too hard in them. And so I want to give it a very tenuous, like, high silver, but not quite gold.
Because, for instance, the next mini arc that we're going to becomes all the more important during the whole Cake arc.
Yeah.
Because we get to see where some of those guys come from. And that's like 15 years afterwards, if even that.
And then after that, we get to Drum Island, which will probably have my platinum episode in it.
Oh, Drum Island's gonna be great.
And then after...
Sean, it'll be Christmas in July!
Yeah?
It'll be Christmas in July!
So, I don't know. Like, I want to say that these are gold episodes, but I'm gonna give it a very high silver. What do you think about these episodes?
I think, objectively speaking, these are good episodes. The first episode of these 4 we watched was very high silver. For obvious, like, Luffy just takes the mask and shoves it into Laboon was hilarious. The Crocus scene, hilarious. However, it's high silver. The episodes that follow are all gold for me. Gold of various levels.
It's weird.
None of them are high gold for me.
Again, all the episodes are gold, but I'm giving it a silver mostly because I don't know how much I'm actually liking these episodes because of their content.
Which is fair. You're trying to be conscious about how you feel. I would give it a gold though.
So you're giving it a gold?
Yes. I would give these 4 episodes.
You're giving a low gold, I'm giving a high silver, so it's roughly around the same place.
Next week. We will be finishing up Whiskey Peak, going into the Kobe filler, and then beginning the arc of Little Garden.
Yeah, I forgot that there's a 1 episode. Is it 1 episode or is it like 2?
Of the Kobe filler?
Yeah.
2 episodes. 3, I think.
No, it's 2 episodes because it goes 2 episodes left on this island, 2 episodes left on this island, 2 episodes of the filler, and then 1 island.
We have Try Hard Kobe.
Yeah.
He's basically
and then the 1 episode of Little Garden.
And then we have Kobe and Helmeppo's Resolve, and then we have Ancient Island and Huge Duel as the next 2 in the set, along with the episode I've already watched.
Oh.
I've already watched the next episode because I thought we were going to be talking about all 5.
You said 4 and I was fine. I had a lot more to talk about in episode 4, which is why I really like 4. But again, even though all but 1, besides the first one of the mini arc, is gold, I still have to give it a silver because again, I'm not sure if I'm liking it because I know what comes up or because.
That's fair. That's a fair thing to want to be careful of. That you don't want to give.
But I will say.
Faulty readings to episodes.
I will be giving the next few episodes gold though. The next maybe 2 to 3 weeks gold. Because of what goes on in those ones.
Yeah. Also, these next 2 episodes
maybe high silver
are
for the next
gold in
one.
context for me. They're high bronze, low silver.
Yeah, you can tell how excited we are to be in this because we're already
character who comes up. He's so funny. I love this guy. But he's only great in context, though. He's just a wacky, kooky character in the Marines, really.
I do kind of like how we're so excited for this arc that we're just like,
it's filler.
we can't help but talk about what comes up.
This arc is a really good saga. The Alabasta saga is really good, and it has far-reaching consequences in all the arcs to follow.
I'm already predicting maybe 2 or 3, like 2 or 3 platinum contenders coming up.
Oh,
1 on Drum Island and 2 on Alabasta itself.
I know one of the episodes that could get platinum for me. Just because of how much it's going to tug at my heartstrings.
Is it on Alabasta or?
Alabasta and Drum Island.
Yeah, so we're probably talking about the same episode on that one. But we'll leave it off here.
Because it's a really good episode.
Yeah. We're mostly going to just leave it there because, hey, like, we're probably at like an hour anyway now just by like rambling on about like one island.
Yeah.
But I did kind of want to say that, like, I don't know, I really like
this. Is, objectively speaking, Alabasta's a good arc.
Yeah.
But we don't want to oversell it for those who haven't seen it. Because there is someone in our family who is going through One Piece for the first time. Like, they don't know any of the spoilers. Because they don't normally watch anime of this caliber. They don't usually watch shonen.
Yeah, it's why I don't want to...
Because there are people who haven't seen One Piece, and we don't want to oversell the Laboon flashback. We don't want to oversell the beginning of Alabasta. Because it's about to get good. And it's about to get good in the future.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess if you have any comments, just put them down below. If you want to contact us, I put some links down for some of our Twitter pages.
And I'm hoping to do some title cards for us soon. Let's see if I can actually get those done.
Yeah, but YouTube's currently messing with the custom thumbnail thing right now, so it might go up.
Yeah, it might go up. Who knows?
Yeah. So
they'll be like, they'll all be traditional art because my hand just doesn't like the graphic pen I bought. It's like, can't you draw a straight line? You're normally really good at drawing at least partial circles. Like,
yeah.
I'm like,
Bye, everyone. See you guys next week.
See ya.